Hey, thanks for clicking on that video. My name is David Pendleton, and today I'm going to talk to you about Vineyard Acres, hole number 7, which is a par 3, and is currently a shootout located on tour number 8. This one I'm going to spend a little bit more time on because before I start the replays, I'm going to go over what secondary wind push means. But most importantly, just realize that when you watch these replays, we're playing this one at 20% elevation. I am always playing it at max distance of my sniper. No matter what the wind strength is, no matter what the wind angle is, always 20%, and it's going to be very consistent. If you're not a subscriber to the channel already, please subscribe. That would be awesome. And if you find this video helpful, please take a second there just to hit that thumbs up button. That's all that I'm asking. And if you're looking for more tour play content, you can go to the playlist section on my channel. If you click on there, you'll find everything that I have uploaded. Extremely neat and organized. That way you can easily find anything that you're looking for. Okay. Now, so, I've talked about secondary wind push in other videos, and I'm going to do it again just in case this is somebody's first time watching. Now, when I play this hole, in most cases, you're going to see me kind of line up where I have this screenshot at, okay? Now, again, we're going to pull our rings at 20% elevation, and we're going to pull it at max distance of our club. But the thing is, if you take a look at the middle of the target here, which is where we want the ball to land, kind of where I put that black, horizontal line, when you pull your rings and you adjust for 20%, the only thing that does is it makes your shot accurate to hit the center of the bullseye. So exactly where you're aiming. But everything else after that, you also have to account for in the game. So in this particular scenario, you see that the wind is 5.6 miles an hour, and it's perfect crosswind blowing from left to right. Well, the moment my ball touches down on the bullseye, the ball is going to bounce, and then this wind comes into effect again, I should say. So, if, for example, let's say if you didn't use any side spin or anything like that, and you just aimed directly dead center at the hole and took your shot, even if you adjusted 100% correctly, you're still going to miss the shot to the right-hand side because the wind is going to push you that way. So there are certain things that you can do in the game to fight against that. One is you can counter-effect the wind push with side spin to the left. You can offset your shot, which means instead of putting the ball guide line at the hole, you could put your ball guide line to the left of the hole and let the wind push you back towards the hole. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, because on this hole, it's a very aggressive second wind push because there's a lot of distance from the landing spot to the hole. And the more distance there is, the more the wind is going to affect a shot. And that goes for anything in the game. That would go for when you try to get extra eagles or you try to get albatrosses. Remember, when you adjust, you're only adjusting for your landing spot only. Everything else after that, we have to account for in different ways. And I'm really going to show you that in these replays. So let's hop into this first replay. Now notice here, our opponent is using a money ball. It's actually a very good money ball. It's a wind resistance 5 ball, power 2. So this would be one of the best balls to head into a shootout with. I'm sorry, so wind resistance 5, power 1 ball. But either way, anything wind resistance 5 gives an opponent a significant advantage when it comes to shootouts. Doesn't necessarily give anybody an advantage in one-on-one play. But in a shootout, a definite advantage to get as low wind as possible. Now you see he hits a great ball, or a perfect ball, I'm not sure what it was. But he lands very close to the pin. And that's a great shot. So 0.93 yards from the pin. Now it's our turn. And you're going to see me do the same thing on this hole. So for example, if I have the wind blowing from left to right like we do here, I always apply side spin to the opposite side. And I only use a navigator ball. If you'd like to know more on the reason why I only use navigators in Tour 8, you can click on the video below that's in the description, and you can find a link to my Tour 8 strategy video. But on this situation, I always apply max side spin opposite of the wind. So since this wind is blowing left to right, I'm going to apply 1 bar of side spin to the left. Okay? Now, notice here that we're getting almost perfect crosswind. So I'm just making sure that basically my ball guide line is pretty parallel to the hole. So right at the pin, and the only reason I'm leaving my ball guide line past the hole is because we do get a little bit of headwind. It's not a lot, but it is a little bit that we have to account for. Now here, this is a 20% elevation pull. And this ball lands exactly where we want to. So dead center for the hole-in-one. You know, it took a lot of accuracy to hit this shot because of our opponent was extremely close. Anytime your opponent's within 1 yard, it does apply a lot of pressure on you to perform a great shot. So here's another very similar wind, 5.6 miles per hour. You're going to see that I do the same thing here with the backspin and the side spin to the left. Again, all these replays are pulled at 20% elevation at max distance numbers of my sniper. And you see here we hit center of the pin for the hole-in-one again. Now, I've been playing the game for a long time, so I kind of understand exactly where I need to aim and shoot on this hole to get very close, and that's the reason that I'm making these videos, because I've had a lot of trial and error, and I can just teach you like what you need to do. Okay. Let's hop in some more very aggressive wind angles. Now, the biggest thing I need you to understand is when you get headwind, especially if you're using Power 1 balls like I do, you have to start your target. You have to start your target way down here, okay? Because if you start your target up high, when you go to pull your rings, you're going to pull into overpower, and then you're going to switch to your driver. You don't want to do that. What all you need to do is you just need to leave a very healthy ball guide line past the pin, because that's going to help fight against the headwind, and that is going to help you be very good with a Power 1 ball. Now, yes, you could be like using a Power 3 or a Power 2, and you can start your target higher. But those balls have way more of an in-game ball value, which I cover in that video that I told you to click on the link below in the description. So, for me, when we use a Power 1 ball here, we just have to start with our target down here, okay? And then notice with this wind strength, look at my ball guide line. My ball guide line is way beyond the hole, and I think that's kind of what I'm trying to teach everybody here, that you don't need power balls to be successful. You just have to know how to play the game. So now when I flip the screen around, I'm still able to pull 20% elevation. It almost goes into overpower, but we're okay. And I use overpower here just to compensate for the extra rings that I pulled in the overpower. But you can see that by performing the shot this way, we still get a hole-in-one. And even if we would have missed, let's say we would have missed to the left or right, the ball was starting to slow down, so we would have still been very close to the pin. So there's a shot with a very high wind. Here's another one, 9.1 miles per hour, crosswind mixed with headwind. This is a very difficult wind strength. Same thing, you see me using the spin. You see that I have a very long ball guide line beyond the pin. Notice here, I barely use any overpower at all, and the reason is because I did not pull into overpower when I went to pull my rings. And anytime you can get the ball that close to the pin and that high of wind, you're going to win almost every single time. So here's a much smaller wind, but it's still going to be headwind. And I wanted to show you the difference of how I leave my ball guide line on shorter winds or lesser wind. So you notice here that there's not too much of a tail behind the pin. It's still a pretty healthy amount. But the only reason we're doing that is because, remember, we have to account for that secondary wind push. So we have to leave our tail beyond the pin. No overpower needed here. And that's why I said it, even if we miss the left or right, our ball's going to come down and it's going to die really nice because of the backspin that we're using. And we're going to be right at pin every single time, as long as you adjust correctly. So here's another pretty nasty wind, and then I'll go into some of the other winds here in just a second, but this is 7.2 miles an hour. And the biggest thing is just getting that ball guideline correct. But if you really paid attention, you see a lot of my opponent's icons way off. And we can take advantage of that. So you notice here that when I went to pull my rings, I barely pulled into overpower, which is why you see me use a tad of overpower here. And again, anytime you can get that close on this hole, you're going to win the hole more times than not, for sure. Because you can see our opponent here was like kind of by the fringe area. So I was able to take advantage of that and just take a nice, easy shot and not have to do anything silly. Okay. Now let's talk about direct tailwind. And to me, the direct tailwind is the harder way to take this shot. So now we're doing the opposite. So remember how we used to leave the ball guideline way past the pin on headwind? Now we're going to leave it short of the pin because we're getting a strong tailwind push. So you see here I'm about a green square or so short of the pin. And I went very heavy on the backspin. This is a situation where I hit a great shot to the right. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because if you set up properly, even with a great shot, you're going to come in parallel at the pin, and we're going to be extremely close. This is as high as wind as you can get with a Power 1 ball on Tour 8. So again, extremely heavy on the backspin. You can see how short I end up leaving this ball guideline. So here, 10.5 miles per hour wind. I'm trying to eyeball that. I'm about 2.5 green squares or so short of the pin. You can see our opponent is way back there. He did not account for that secondary wind push. And this is probably like a 12 ring adjustment or even more. And a great shot to the left. But again, I show you this just to show you that if you adjust correctly, you see how you come in parallel at the pin, like we're right on even with the pin, and we're very close to the hole. All right, so now we can talk about some crosswind and headwind. What do we do here? Again, I spin in the opposite way of the pin. Because we're getting that tailwind, I leave the ball guideline here, about 1 green square short of the hole. Because we are counting on that wind to push us back up once our ball touches down. And we land very nicely right next to the hole. And I do promise you, you can get this thing within 3 yards typically on this hole, you're going to win. Because a lot of people struggle on it. Now here's a much shorter tailwind push. You can see this is only 3 miles an hour. I still leave the ball guideline short. Pulled at 20%. Perfect ball. And we come right in at the pin again, leaving it extremely close for a hole of 1. So that's everything that I have to go over on this hole. I hope this is really helpful for you. You know, my biggest suggestion is if you play this shootout and you miss pretty hard, kind of remember what wind angle you had. Come back, check this video out, and kind of look at the difference of, like, you know, the tail of our ball guideline and things like that. Please subscribe, please hit the thumbs up button, and spread my channel to your clan so we can all become better players together. Thank you for watching. Bye.